Okay, so visual rhetoric is not advanced in the same way that textual rhetoric is advanced. You don't read it in the same way, even though you can read it. Okay, your eyes move around the image oftentimes. Although with this image, right, we did read it left to right. Okay, but that was so fast that we probably weren't even aware that we were doing it. Our eyes were sort of going all around this image. All right, but the arrangement of that image was important to its message. But this point here, the argument in visual rhetoric is often ambiguous and implicit. Okay, it's not straightforward. You have to guess what the signs and symbols of visual rhetoric mean. You have to infer. Okay, and you make you make inferences a lot of times based on assumptions. Okay, the way we read this image, whoops, I went too fast. The wrong way. The way we read this image was we drew really heavily on our cultural knowledge to make assumptions about what was going on in this scenario. Okay, but we need to make sure that those are conscious working assumptions, which is a reference to a concept that's discussed in chapter 5. We want to be making conscious working assumptions and inferences. Okay, and as you know, the difference between an inference and an assumption, at least an unconscious assumption, is that inferences, you're aware you're making them oftentimes, whereas assumptions, they're just defaults, okay, that you refer to without being aware that you're doing that in order to make sense of what you're observing or experiencing. All right, let's see. All right, so here are some of the tools of rhetorical interpretation and analysis, some of which we've already talked about and we're going to come back to again and again. And these are the same kinds of things that you look for. Many of these items are the same kinds of things that you look for when you're trying to interpret, analyze, and evaluate a textual argument, an argument being advanced through text. You look at the context. You look at who the intended audience is, okay? You deal with assumptions, those that you're making in order to interpret it, and those that you can infer are being made on the part of the people who created the argument about their target audience. You identify the purpose, the genre, the rhetorical strategies that the people making the argument are using to target an audience and advance a particular argument with that audience by appealing to the credibility of the person making the argument. That's what ethos means, as you guys probably know. Pathos is an appeal to the audience's emotions. Logos is an appeal to the audience's intellect. Are you guys hearing feedback? I'm hearing my voice feeding back to me.
Like, I guess like a little echo? Not really, it's kind of small.
Okay, yeah, it is in my ears too, but it's still distracting. All right, but I shall continue. Thanks for the response. All right, and all of these other things. We talked a little bit about arrangement already. Okay, we've talked about reasons and evidence. All right, these are the approaches we can take, some of them, to analyzing visual rhetoric. All right, so context is the first one we're going to focus on. And when we were looking at the image of the oil tanker at sea for the Greenpeace ad, hang on, you guys. Let me go. I'm muting everybody and seeing if that helps with the feedback issue. It seems to have fixed it, at least right now. Okay, so maybe I was feeding back to myself because I'm not on mute. I don't know. Okay, as I was saying, context. We're talking about context when we were looking at the image of the oil tanker, the Greenpeace image, right? And I asked you what was the context for this image. And people said the oil spills was part of the context, right? The debate over climate change is part of the context for that particular argument, all right? And that's rhetorical context. here. All right, there are these other kinds of contexts too that we're going to talk about as we move through this presentation. Cultural, political, historical, economic, okay? All of the stuff, because that's what context means, right? It means everything around the thing that you're focused on that helps to give it meaning and significance, okay? Things are only significant within context, okay? Things don't have any meaning outside of a context. All right, so this is an image where rhetorical context is important to the argument that this image wants to make. Okay, what's the topic that this argument is about? What's it about?
Substance abuse?
Generally, it's about substance abuse. Is a particular one though, right? Okay, what's the rhetorical context? What's the debate that this image is making an argument about?
Like comparing how both of them can be misused.
Both of what?
Mm.
Diana.
These recreational activities, like if somebody were to drink alcohol or smoke weed.
Yeah. So the context for this argument, I'm flipping through your images right now. The context for this argument is the debate over legalization of marijuana, isn't it? That's the context. This image is making an argument about that debate. Okay? Where does this argument stand in that debate? What's its position? Is it for or against legalization?
Looks like for.
Absolutely. There's no looks like about it, right? Isn't it obvious that it's for? And can't you tell that really fast?
Yeah, immediately, like my eyes go straight to the last image, and it just like of both of the lines, it's just one's happy and they're all alive, and the other one's like someone's off the tree.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's using humor. That's one of the elements that this argument uses to target its audience and advance its argument with that particular audience. But it's very clear from the visual rhetoric. I mean, there are some words here, okay, but the words would be meaningless without the visual rhetoric, without the visual details in this image. All of this is what's conveying the argument, not this in this image, okay? And it uses arrangement. That's one of the elements of this particular image, okay, that it uses to convey its argument. The way the details in the image are arranged, okay? We read left to right, right? So and top to bottom. This image uses that. It knows that about the viewer, that they're going to read left to right and top to bottom. They're going to start here, and then there's a helpful little arrow, graphic arrow, pointing us to where we need to go next, okay? This image uses juxtaposition, which is a word I mentioned last week, okay? That means setting two things side by side so that you have to compare them, okay? We're comparing this to this and seeing the pros and cons of each of these scenarios on purpose in order to advance an argument about the legalization of marijuana, okay? And then there's all these little stick figures, right? And details in each one of these little squares that help to convey the argument this image is making, all right? So can you guys see this well enough to see what's going on? What is going on in this top row? What are all of the details in this image that help to convey the argument? Let me close my door while you think about that. Haha, my daughter has to be awake because she has class today. Finally! A little Schadenfreude, which is a German word that means taking pleasure in other people's pain or discomfort. I'm having lots of Schadenfreude today. Anyways, what do you guys say? What are the details in this top row? Let's just start with this square. What's going on in there?
They're smoking pot.
They are,
Yeah.
right? You can see that, as is routine with people who do this activity, they're sharing a marijuana cigarette. They're passing it back and forth to each other. I don't know anything about this, right? I just hear this is what people do. Okay. There's a little clock up here on the wall. And who's that?
Bob Marley.
That guy. That's Bob Marley. Everybody knows who that is, right? The target audience is going to know who that is, aren't they? And why?
He's associated with marijuana use because of his religion.
That's right. And because of his open advocacy and open use, right, of it, and always being high on stage. Have you guys seen Bob Marley perform? He is clearly intoxicated all the time on stage, right? And pretty much every other appearance. Any tape you can find of Marley on the internet he's going to be intoxicated, okay? So he is like the patron saint of marijuana consumption. So that's why he's on their wall. All right, and then what's going on in this image? What's going on there?
They're eating.
Or they have eaten. It's post munchies? Is that the right term? Again, I don't know. Okay, thank you.
Know.
I wouldn't know either. Munchies. None of us know. Okay, so what did they eat?
An edible?
You mean, no, they're smoking. Come on.
Oh, they're eating food.
Come on, keep up. Like in this one.
Pizza boxes.
Pizza, chips.
Pizza. I mean, it's a crudely drawn, right? But you can tell these are pizza boxes. And also, none of us are, but the target audience would be drawing on their cultural knowledge, right? And their personal experiences to interpret this image, right? We just drew on our cultural knowledge to identify this person, right? But lots and lots of people in the target audience are going to
wrap the top so the thing doesn't open.
What's that? I didn't hear you. I don't know who that was, but I didn't catch that. Was that Dylan? No? All right. Yeah, the pizza boxes are open, I think you said, whoever that was. And there's like shards of pizza littering the floor. Okay, and the clock has moved a little bit. Okay. And what are they doing? What's this?
They're lounging.
Yeah, chilling. They're laid back. They all have little smiles on their faces. Let me make this again. All right. And what's this? What's this right here that I'm wiggling my cursor over?
TV.
That's a TV. So they're all slumped in a couch after gorging themselves on pizza because they overconsumed because they were high, right? And then they watch TV, right? And everything ends in friendship and rainbows, right? Look at their droopy lids because they're stoned, right? Okay, did you think we could notice that many details in this image? There's lots going on here, you guys, all right? And, you know, I'm gonna keep pushing as we move through these examples. I'm gonna keep pushing you guys to notice all of the details because one of the issues I encounter most when I'm grading this assignment is people don't deal with all of the details, okay? They leave a bunch of details out of their analysis. So you need to address all of the details because they're all there on purpose. All right, there are many things I want you to take away from our conversations about this project, but probably the most important one is that everything is on purpose. Okay, there's nothing here that's accidental or oops, that detail slipped in, right? Everything here is on purpose to craft an argument for an audience. Okay, so let's look at the next row. What is that?
Bottle of Jack Daniels.
That's right. Not just any alcohol, right? Why Jack? Again, something I know nothing about. Just caffeine for me. I'm a slave to the bean. Why Jack Daniels, you guys? That's on purpose.
It's well known and strong.
It's strong, but also well known, right? It's got an iconic label. Crap! What did I do? I wiggled my cursor too vigorously. Yeah, it's got a well-known label, right? You can recognize it easily. And it's what, 100 proof? Again, I'm not sure what that means. Okay. But it's very strong liquor. All right. And look at this, what's going on in this square?
They're all drinking.
Yeah, and what else? What do you notice when you juxtapose this one? Crap. I have to stop clicking. When you juxtapose this one with this one, what do you notice?
That they're kind of hanging out and like doing the same thing, except for not really doing the same thing. Like they're hanging out in the same position, but consuming something else.
Yeah, good. That's a good observation, because this image is using something called parallelism. Okay, the fact that that these images are structured very similarly, at least the first two, very similarly, is on purpose, because you're supposed to juxtapose them and see, right, that when three people, the same three people, right, you can tell they're the same because this one has hair and these two don't, and their head shapes are similar, right? This is the same head shape as this. This is the same head shape as this. Okay, when the same group of people does this, this is the outcome. When the same group of people does this, this is the outcome. Right? That's important. The similarities here are important. Okay, what's an important difference that you notice between this square and this square?
The poster?
Poster is different.
Yeah, and I can't tell, but this looks like a poster for alcohol. You guys think so? I'm not sure.
It is. Yeah.
Okay, I recognize this setup with the woman and the giant bottle of alcohol. I think that's beer or something. I don't know. I'm not sure. Okay, but the posters are different. So they have a different patron saint. Okay.
Also,
What else do you notice?
Also, I noticed that they're not sharing. They have their own bottles.
Yes, they're not sharing. Look, you guys. They each have their own bottle. That's crazy. Okay. Did we not just say this stuff is like 100 proof or 80 proof? Right? And then, what do?
Go drive.
They go on a car ride, as I say to want to go on a car ride? My dog goes, yeah, car ride. Okay, they go on a car ride and they take their booze with them, and they're going, woohoo! I'm on a car ride. I've got my bottle of Jack. And then everything ends in fire and bloodshed. With this person impaled on a tree. One of them impaled on a tree. Okay, so, you know, and I'm laughing, and that is intentional. That's intended. We're supposed to laugh at this. They're using humor to advance their argument because they think that's going to work with their target audience. They think that will get their target audience to pay attention. Okay, so we said that the main argument that this ad is making, this image is making, is pro-legalization, right? That's on the surface. What's the subtext? What's the because? Pro-legalization because
It's not as dangerous as alcohol,
yeah, which is
which is
legal.
better. Yeah.
Alcohol is
Oh, yeah.
legal. Okay, so another thing this image is using to advance its argument is irony. All right, irony. It's using humor, sarcasm, and irony to advance its argument. And we'll come back to irony later. We'll touch on irony again a little later, more specifically. But skull note that, okay? Make a little note in your skull about irony, all right? But rhetorical context was the main thing I wanted to demonstrate with this. Rhetorical context is important to understanding this image and its argument. This one too. What's the context for this image? What's the issue this argument is about?
Global warming.
It's about global warming, right? Who do you think there goes my neck. Oh, who do you think the target audience is for this image? Who's the target audience?
Those who don't believe in it.
Really? Do you think, okay, I'm glad you brought that up. Do you think this image is going to work with people who do not believe in global warming? Am I yelling, by the way? My voice too loud? A little bit? Okay.
I guess I would kind of say that just because it's kind of proving, I mean, in older photos, you'd probably see this polar bear surrounded in ice, and you kind of see it's like hanging on for life on that little piece of ice.
Yeah, you just mentioned some really important details in this image. Okay, but think about target audience, okay? This image has actually been used a lot on the internet. You've probably seen it before. And I've seen it used by organizations like Greenpeace, which we talked about last week. That is a pro-environmental, protect the environment, protect the polar bears and their habitat organization. And the target audience for this image, when it's being advanced by Greenpeace, right, is to get people to feel sad and guilty about the fact that this polar bear is going to drown, right? Again, I'm the target audience. And then again, the purpose is give us your money to help save this polar bear, right? But I've also seen this image on a website called Breitbart.com. Does anybody know that website? Breitbart.com? No? Well, you will get to know it a little bit probably when we do SA3. But Breitbart.com is a conservative news website that was founded by a guy named Steve Bannon. Anybody know who Steve Bannon is?
Yeah, he used to advise Trump.
That's right. He advised Trump on the campaign. And then he worked for a time in the White House, right? I don't remember if he was fired or quit. And frankly, I don't care. But anyway, he's a conservative. So when this image appeared on that website some years ago, before he became affiliated and involved in the campaign, it was there to mock it, right? Because the target audience for that website, not only do they not believe in climate change, but even if they do, they don't care. Okay, they don't care. And so what they were talking about was how this image is framed, right? And you can see that the way it's framed, the frame that is drawn around this image, which includes some information that's on the scene and excludes some other information. We talked about this a little bit with the Greenpeace ad, right? What's in and not in the image? What can you see? And what else might have been going on that you can't see that the creators of the image intentionally left out. And so on Breitbart, they were saying, yeah, they just cropped it so that you can't see, right, that there's a huge ice flow just to the right or left of this bear that it could be on. And they're trying to manipulate their audience. Okay, me. Okay, so context depends, and place of publication depends on the rhetorical context for this image. Does that make sense, you guys? Did I say all of that in words that made sense? Okay, all right, let me move on. But this is the purpose of this particular image in this presentation is to illustrate the concept of rhetorical context. But global warming is still the context, regardless of how this image is being used to make an argument about that issue. All right, this one, okay, is probably the best one I have for illustrating the importance of context, knowing that, and place of publication. Okay, knowing where the image is and where it's likely to be seen. Do you recognize this style? Anybody recognize this image? How about the style of it? Who do you think made it?
Banksy.
That's right. This is a Banksy. Okay. And in order for us to know what the hell this means, because Banksy's images always mean something. Okay. For those of you who don't know, Banksy is a guerrilla street artist out of Bristol, England. Okay, that's where he started, but he goes all over the world, okay, putting up paintings. He uses stencil. That's why I asked you about style. That's his signature style, is stenciling. To paint these images in places where they're intended to make some sort of commentary on what's going on in that place. So you need to know where this is in order to interpret the image. Okay, if you don't know where it is, you don't know what Banksy means by this image. You can't interpret its argument. All right, so let me escape my, why can't I escape? God curses. Escape, escape, there we go. Okay, so here's the little blurb on where this is. All right. This image is located on the Israeli-Palestinian wall. It's on the Palestinian side. You guys familiar with that wall in Israel, separating Palestine from Israel? The Israelis put it up, right? They say, in order to prevent terrorist attacks coming at them from Palestine. And why would Palestine be attacking Israel, you guys? Why would Palestinians be attacking Israel?
They've been displaced.
That's right. Okay.
Their homes.
From their homes. Israelis have taken, especially in the West Bank, Israelis are making settlements on what has been for thousands of years Palestinian homeland. All right, so the Israelis put up this wall separating those two spaces, and Banksy painted this on the Palestinian side. This is, guys, this is one of the, Banksy is incredible. I'm getting goosebumps. This is one of the most heavily guarded places on the planet. How did he do it? I don't know. How did he get over this barbed wire and into this gravelly space to paint this piece? I don't know. Maybe he paid someone off. I don't know. Okay. Banksy put something up in Disneyland, you guys, probably in Anaheim, probably the second most heavily guarded place on the planet. Have you guys been to Disneyland where, you know, you're standing in line for hours and hours and you're eating your crappy food that you bought in Disneyland for too much money, and you drop some trash on the ground, and before you know it, there's somebody behind you sweeping it up? Like, oh my God, where'd that person come from? No? Okay. Anyway, that's been my experience at Disneyland. Banksy put up an installation inside the Gold Rush. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? The Gold Rush roller coaster, that's one of the oldest rides in Disneyland. Somehow he got over that fence with nobody seeing him and put something up in there. All right, anyway, I digress. I'm a big fan of Banksy. Let me see, let me go back to slideshow.
Did they keep it up?
No, they took it down as soon as they saw it, but people saw it long enough to take pictures of it. And that's really all he wants, right? He wants the pictures. So he can put them up on his website and put them on display, okay? All right, but we needed to know all of that, didn't we? In order to interpret this image accurately. We needed to know where it is and who's gonna see it in order to know what the argument is that it's making and why it's there, what its purpose is. So what's the argument this image is making, you guys? Anybody chatting at me? No.
Honestly, I don't get what's going on. On the
Okay,
picture.
that's good. Okay, start with one idea of what you think is going on here, and then we'll build from there. I know you guys, this is kind of a meta point, a point above all the more specific points that we're making. But in class, people don't want to offer interpretations of things if they're not sure. But that's not really how our brains work, right? And I like to think of our class as one big brain, right? Our brains don't work that way. Our brains start to gather information slowly, and then we put the pieces together, right? And then we figure out what it all means, what all the pieces mean. So if everybody can offer little pieces of their interpretation of this image, then we can put something together. So what do you think's going on here?
Well, I guess because you said it was a wall that it was painted on, that like maybe he wants it kind of destroyed to see like what's on the other side, to be able to share that with
That's right.
kids.
Yeah. I'm sorry, are you done talking? Zoom sucks because we talk over each other in Zoom because it's hard to tell when people are done talking. So I'm sorry if I cut you off, Deanna. But I get super excited when students say something. All right, and then I want to talk and let them know that I agree. Anyway, yeah, you got it. That is exactly what's going on here. Is that, look at what these little kids are doing. Okay, look at them, they're little babies, right? And that's on purpose, that they're children, and they got their little bucket and their little shovels, right? And they're trying to play like little kids do, right? But what are they dealing with here? What are they trying to work with? A bunch of rocks and trash, right? And a barbed wire fence. While on the other side is paradise. On the other side of this wall that shouldn't be there, excluding these innocent little children, right? From where they should be. They should be allowed to be here. This is where kids are supposed to be, okay, on a beach. And we know that Israel doesn't look like this, right? It's not a jungle, but Banksy wanted to evoke a paradise on purpose. And this is how we all envision paradise, right? A tropical island. So he knew if he painted a tropical island and a beach, that it would evoke paradise as a concept. All right? So you did it. That's what you said. Good job.
That's exactly, I was gonna use paradise, but I kind of knew like Israeli didn't look like that, so I was like, I didn't want to say it's paradise.
Right, but it's symbolic. That's what you need to understand about these. A lot of these images are using signs and symbols to represent something else. They're not necessarily meant to be taken literally, right? Like that marijuana image we looked at, that's not meant to be taken literally, right? Especially the bottom row. You know, people don't usually end up impaled on a tree, right? When they drive drunk, although perhaps sometimes they do. Okay, all right. Let's move on. Okay, so that was rhetorical context, and that was, you know, those images were also used to demonstrate the importance of place of publication, that you guys need to know where the image is and who's going to see it in order to interpret the argument and identify the target audience. All right? So this one is about cultural context. Okay? And this one's making an argument about a particular issue that's going on in our culture. Okay, a problem that we're having in our culture. What's the problem this image is about? What's its context? It's pretty obvious. You can just read to get that. And then we'll talk about audience.
Meth makes you do things you wouldn't do otherwise.
Yeah, that's the argument the image is making. And the issue that the argument is methamphetamine abuse or use. I mean, you can't just dabble in meth, can you? No, it grabs you and you're addicted. One time, that's all it takes. Okay? So that's what it's about. It's about the problem of methamphetamine use. And it's about the problem of methamphetamine use in Montana, particularly, which we can find out because we know who made the image, the Montana Meth Project, right? Remember I said it's important for you guys to be able to know who made it. Okay, and it says here, not even once. All right, okay. All right, so we identified the cultural context, the issue, what's going on. And there's cultural context / audience here because part of interpreting the argument the image is making is identifying the audience, right? And we identify the audience through our understanding of cultural norms. Does that make sense? Is that an understood concept? Cultural norms? That means what's normal in our culture, okay? And in this particular argument, gender norms are important to understanding the argument this image is making. All right, so who's this argument aimed at?
Females.
That's right. Definitely females. Why not males?
Society tells us that we should guard our virginity. So it's we're tainted if we lose our virginity, and not men. Men don't have that kind of scrutiny.
Men, it's a pro to lose their virginity.
Exactly right. Good job. That's exactly it. I have nothing to add. Okay, so good. This is aimed at females. Is there an age range that this is aimed at?
I'm thinking teenagers.
Yeah, teenagers more likely.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit younger than that. Just a little bit,
right.
not too much.
That's right. And what makes you say that, Killian?
Because it has to do with virginity, and I mean, that's pretty much it.
No, that's not it. There's more. What is it about our culture, okay, that you know that allows you to make that interpretation of the target audience that it's aimed at teenagers or even younger?
That teenagers probably start experimenting with drugs at a young age. That's kind of what I get from it.
All right, and what else? So drugs are an important component of this image and its argument, but what else is an important component?
The fact that it has to do with losing virginity.
That's right. And when is that happening now in our culture?
At young ages.
Very young, right?
Yeah.
Okay, especially in the U.S. Okay, girls and boys are becoming sexually active at younger and younger ages in our culture. All right, so you knew that. You weren't consciously aware that you knew that. And the reason I'm pushing Killian on that, everybody, and you guys as well, is because part of the purpose of this exercise is to bring your cultural knowledge into conscious awareness, to become more consciously aware when you're using that to make interpretations and draw conclusions about things. All right, so we all know this, right? But when you're doing your own visual analysis, you need to be consciously drawing on that so that you can identify the things that are important for you to notice and talk about in your essay, so that you cover all of the details and all of the aspects of context and audience that are relevant to your image. Does that make sense? Did all the words that just came out of my mouth make sense? What film am I quoting when I say that? Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Anybody know? No, nobody knows. It's an old film, but it's kind of a cult classic. People still watch it. No? Jackie Chan is in it.
Rush Hour.
That's it. Chris Tucker, so racist, but hilarious. Okay, I'm not sure how that would play now. Our sensibilities have changed a bit. Okay, so how is this image intended to work? All of its details with that particular target audience. What other cultural norms, what other assumptions are the people who created this image making about the target audience? Okay, we talked about how it's aimed at young females in particular, right? Why? And how do the details, how are they crafted on purpose to convince that target audience?
Well, personally, even now at this age, I don't think I would use a restroom looking like that. So to even think about losing something that's supposed to be as important as your virginity in there is like not a thought that crosses my mind.
Yeah, it's extremely filthy and totally unromantic in every way. It's anti-romantic, isn't it? So, and again, we're drawing on culture, right? Deanna said me personally, and that's adorable, but really it's the whole culture, the whole culture. Think about you guys being little girls, okay? My little girl loved Disney princesses, okay? Did you guys, any of you little girls, love Disney princesses? Okay, and what were their lives like? I mean, we're not supposed to talk about them losing their virginity because that just doesn't happen to Disney princesses, right? Okay, but they had boyfriends, and what were those relationships like?
They would do like all the cooking, cleaning and stuff, and you know, the stereotypical what women always are supposed to do and everything.
Uh-huh. And what were their relationships like with the boyfriends? What kinds of people were the boyfriends?
Super respectful.
Like,
Friends.
I'm trying to think of the word. I'm trying to find my words.
They were princes. Yeah.
There we
Sorry,
go.
Kelly.
Like royalty. There we go.
Yeah. They were princes. Princesses could only liaise with princes. They could only get together with princes, right? Okay. And then, you know, so like Sleeping Beauty, let's just take as an example, right? She's asleep in a beautiful, where's that Snow White? I'm conflating. Yeah. Okay, let's just take Snow White. Snow White bites the apple and falls asleep because of the Wicked Witch, right? And then along comes the prince and kisses her gently on the lips, right? And then she wakes up and then he carries her off to the palace, right? Or whatever. I don't know. I'm mixing them all up, I'm sure, because it's been a while since I was into the princesses when my daughter was young or knew about them and had to sing all the songs. Oh my God. Some of them are good, okay, but some of them are totally annoying. Anyway, so, you know, when an American girl envisions losing her virginity, it most definitely does not look like this. That's not what our culture projects. What does it look like, you guys? Anybody? Okay, I want participation from somebody other than Elizabeth, Deanna, Virginia, and Killian. Go ahead. Someone was talking at me. When an American girl loses her virginity, what does it look like? What does she envision? What's her plan? Give me details. You can chat at me. Okay, you can type if you're not able to unmute and speak. Okay, I'm going to start calling on people. Just to make sure that you guys are out there. Okay, Marcella, just randomly. Your box just popped up as I'm scrolling through the boxes here. What do you think an American girl envisions when she thinks about losing her virginity and what that's going to be like? Give me some specific details. How's it going to go?
Probably after marriage or something like very romantic or something.
Yeah, definitely after marriage, right? Or importantly after marriage, probably less definitely these days. But that's always been a convention. And what are the details? Set the scene for me, Marcella?
Maybe some place like special to both of them.
Okay.
And maybe some place unusual, like they would probably not be able to go all the time.
Okay. Can you give me a specific example?
Maybe maybe like a beach or something, somewhere tropical.
Okay, good. All right. How about you, Yesenia? What do you think? What are some specific examples of a? Go ahead.
They probably think that you like same thing, somewhere romantic. I don't know, maybe like a hotel or something that makes them feel special.
There we go. Like a hotel room, right? Maybe on a high floor overlooking the city or the ocean, right? Come on, guys, you can do this, right? With nice, soft ambient light and music playing and a bottle of champagne chilling and a bucket of ice. Come on. Okay, you can do this, right? At least there should be a bed. Shouldn't there? Shouldn't there be a bed at least? No? Is that just me? Am I being too picky?
Yeah.
It's just me. Thank you. All right. Anyway, I'll let this go. But, you know, details. I'm pushing you guys for details. All right. Okay, let's move on. So we identified the cultural context and the audience in this one. And this is more about the importance of audience. And this is another thing that in my assessment of these essays in the past, I've found to be inadequately addressed, is not enough attention to the target audience. And there's values, beliefs, concerns, the kinds of things they care about, the kinds of things they're interested in, the kinds of things they worry about, the kinds of things they believe and value. All of that's super important. You guys, I'm sure, are familiar with the Got Milk campaign, because I'm assuming that a lot of you are products of public school, and these posters were up in cafeterias for a long time. I don't know if they still are, all over the country, right? Because milk wanted to sell its product, and a big market for milk is kids, okay? And they say you got to drink milk because it's healthy for you. Well, that's debatable, okay? It wasn't good for my kid, but at any rate, that's a big part of the target audience for milk. And you'll see, as I said last week, that when you look at different ads created for this campaign, they use celebrities because, as this explains, advertisers often use celebrities to sell their products because the celebrities themselves are a product, right? Celebrities package and market themselves for their particular target audience. Right? Just take female singers, for example, okay, as a kind of celebrity product, right? Depending on the music that they make, they've got different target audiences who have different sets of values, beliefs, interests, okay, attitudes towards things. So they dress in a certain way. You've noticed Taylor Swift, whom we'll look at in a minute. Everybody knows who Taylor Swift is, yes? Give me a thumbs up if you know who Taylor Swift is.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. So when she was a young country music star, okay, she presented herself in a particular way, right? But then she wanted to go mainstream and expand her audience, and she started presenting herself in a different way, packaging herself in a different way, wearing black leather instead of white lace, just as one example, okay? So the reason people wanting to sell stuff use advertisers to sell their stuff is because they know those celebrities already have a target audience that will pay attention to their ad if they see that celebrity in the ad. Okay, so then the marketers make their ad fit that particular demographic. Let's look at some examples. And I'm not going to read through all of this. I just sort of summarized it anyway. Okay. Who's that? You guys.
Hulk.
That's the Hulk. Thank you. Okay, that was what you call in tennis a lob. I lobbed that one at you. Okay, everybody knows this is the Hulk, right? Okay. Who's the target audience for this particular milk ad?
Children.
All children?
Little boys.
Little boys. In particular, little boys, right? This ad is not geared towards little girls, is it? Right? Who would be in this ad if it was geared towards little girls instead of the Hulk? Think about some sort of cartoon character.
Probably any of the Disney princesses we're talking about.
That's right. Would be in this ad instead of the Hulk if it's aimed at really little girls, right? Jasmine would be in this ad instead of the Hulk, okay? And look at the small text. It says, milk make bones strong, bones no break when Hulk drink milk. That's how Hulk talks, right? Did I do a good Hulk? No? I'm working on it. Anyways, so this is clearly aimed at little boys, their interests, okay? Their concerns are being targeted here, right? To convince them to drink milk, all right? Look at this one. There's Taylor Swift. God damn it. Oops. Sorry, custom zoom. Who's this one aimed at?
The fans.
The target. I'm sorry.
Taylor Swift?
Virginia, was that you?
Yes.
And what did you say?
I think it's targeted at her fans.
Her fans in particular. And who are her fans?
Mostly girls.
That's right. What age?
Teenager and preteen, I guess. Preteen and teenagers. 13 to and up, or I don't know.
Yeah, no, you're close enough. That's fine. You don't have to give me an exact age range. But pre-teenagers and teenagers are her target audience. That's who Taylor Swift's fans were when this image was made, okay, some years ago. As I said, now she looks different, and she's trying to get different fans, okay? But Milk put her in their ad because they know that's who follows Taylor Swift, right? And they have crafted a completely different message. It's the same product, totally different message, because the target audience matters so much to the success, the persuasiveness of the argument, all right? Totally different. Okay? Look at this one's all dark. He looks all mad. This one's all light. She looks all sweet. Right? Okay, what are some other details about this image that help to get the attention of and persuade this particular target audience? How are their values, beliefs, interests, concerns being targeted by the details in this image?
Body image says here, body by milk, and then it talks about being leaner if you drink milk rather than sugary drinks.
Yeah, good. So that's in the text, and you don't see any of that. What's being emphasized here? Not leanness, right? And we'll put lean in quotes, and we'll come back to that. All right, but what's being emphasized here as important? Because the target audience thinks this is important.
I think the concern is the strength of your bones, having healthy bones.
Yeah, and generally just being strong, like the Hulk, right? That's why they use Hulk here, because little boys care about being big and strong, right? You know, they don't have, the Hulk is on purpose here. So it's not just about being strong and healthy, but it's also about being dominant, because that's something little boys care about. And the Hulk is a dominant figure, right? He dominates other people with his strength and with his anger and aggression, which is another element of the target audience, or what little boys are taught to value in themselves, is physical strength, dominance, anger, and aggression by our culture, right? It's the complete opposite with little girls. Okay, they're not taught to value that in themselves. They're taught to value other things in themselves. And they're taught to value not being lean, but being what? Lean is the PC term for what they really mean here, and that what little girls will understand. Taylor Swift is what?
Skinny.
She's skinny, right? And that's what little girls are taught to value in themselves, being skinny. Okay? There's some lip service given here to health, right? But the emphasis on low fat and fat-free milk is not something you see in the Hulk ad, is it? And the visual rhetoric supports that, okay? We don't even really need this text to understand the argument this image is making to girls about how they should look. And that's the subtext of this argument. The argument on the surface is drink milk, right? But the subtext is, and if you drink milk, you'll be skinny like Taylor Swift. And beautiful like Taylor Swift. Does that make sense, you guys?
Yeah, now that you put that into perspective, something I noticed now is that her whole body is actually in the picture and the Hulk's body isn't. Like, he's just a close up and I guess too big, too strong to be in the whole photo.
Good, good. Good analysis and interpretation. Okay, what else about this image supports the argument that it's making? What other visual details support its argument? There's a lot going on here. Come on, you guys. Dylan, how about you? What do you think? What other details in this image support its argument that we've just interpreted? We interpreted the argument, right? So how do the visual details support the argument the image is making to young girls about how they should look and how they can look this way if they drink milk.
The milk stains on her lip.
Okay, good. The milk stains on her lips. That's the product, right? Being worn literally by the celebrity. But what else about the image? What other details?
Her hair.
Her hair. Thank you for noticing what I'm doing. What about her hair?
It hits a whole color scheme. I guess like they all look the same color.
That's good. Yes. Is this an accident, you guys? Please say no. I already told you everything's on purpose, right? Were you guys listening to me when I yelled that a moment ago? It's all on freaking purpose. There is a color scheme here on freaking purpose, okay? Her hair is what color?
Blonde.
It's blonde. Why? Why choose for this particular media message targeted at young girls who care about their looks? Why choose a blonde model? There are plenty of dark-haired celebrities they could have put in this image. Why choose a blonde one, you guys?
I think America has a preference for European beauty standards, and she's very Aryan looking.
Absolutely. See, I know you guys, Elizabeth's the only one who's brave enough to say that, and I don't know why. Because it's obvious. We're all products of this culture, okay? We know this stuff, okay? All of the dark-haired women in this meeting, okay, are keenly aware of the cultural preference for blonde hair. Aren't we, dark-haired women? All of the men in this meeting are keenly aware of the cultural preference for blonde women. Right, you guys? Come on, give me a thumbs up. This shouldn't be a hard sell. You guys are all products of this culture, as am I. Thank you, Killian. Okay? So that's why, and then I'm running out of time here, so I'm just going to go through the details for you guys. But this is what you guys need to do. You need to push on your image. Notice all the details. They all mean something. They're all there on purpose, contributing to conveying the argument to a particular target audience. Right? So the angle of the light on her hair makes it glow on one side. She's got a halo. Literally, she's pure. That's what that means. Okay, that's what it means. She's dressed in this, you know, semi-transparent dress that through which, am I yelling? Through which we can see her body, but not too much, right? Because she's pure. But we have to be able to see how skinny she is, right? So they have to show just enough of her so that we can see, but there's no cleavage here, right? Because she's pure. And her target audience is young girls. With a different target audience and a different celebrity, that would be different, okay? And then, you know, we can see a little bit of her legs. The acoustic guitar is on purpose, you guys, okay? Everything in here is on purpose. Look at how the color of her dress matches the color of her skin so that they kind of blend together, which matches the color of her face and the color of her hair, right? She's ethereal, she glows, right? And which supports the interpretation that she is supposed to represent purity and youth and skinniness and a feminine ideal that we're all taught to pursue, okay? Every female gets this message. Subconsciously, we get it. And what I'm asking you to do is think about it. Think about it consciously. I'm hearing some background noise from somebody. I don't know who that is, but could you all check to make sure you're muted? All right, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next slide here. Whew. Okay. So this one is making an argument that says anti-rape cloak. What's the issue that this image is making an argument about?
It's making an argument over like the cause. You know how people say it's the girl's fault for what they wear.
That's right. So that you interpreted the argument, okay? And I was asking what the issue is, but the issue is sexual assault, right? That's the issue this image is making an argument about. There's this thing going on in our culture that we call sexual assault and rape, okay? So this image is making an argument about that, okay? And it's making an argument more specifically about the fact, as you just explained, Dylan, that women are often blamed for their own sexual assault. And the assertion is made that it wouldn't happen if you weren't wearing that, right? So this is a performance artist who's making a sarcastic and ironic, she's using sarcasm and irony to make an argument about that issue. Okay? Is this thing she's wearing going to protect her from being raped?
No.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad to hear you say that. Of course not. That's ridiculous. And that's her purpose. She's trying to highlight the ridiculousness of that as an assertion that women are to blame for their own sexual assaults because of what they choose to wear. Okay, so then how do the rest of the details, I mean, just the silliness of this garment is part of the visual rhetoric here. It's a ridiculous garment. And she looks ridiculous in it. Okay, but what other details in this image help to support the argument she's trying to make?
Is it the location?
That's a very, very important element in this image. Okay, the spot she's in. What kind of spot is she in?
Like a garage kind of, what are they called? I'm trying to think of the word.
That's okay. Dylan, were you gonna say?
An empty parking lot?
Yeah, she's in an underground, Killian and Dylan, you're both right. She's in an underground parking lot. Clearly, right? Why? Why did she place herself to make her statement about sexual assault in an underground parking lot? What do we know about those places in our culture?
That's where women are supposed to get like raped, and that's where like it'll happen when you go to your car after like work or something.
Yeah, it's a dangerous place to be for a woman, right? Alone, especially in an underground parking lot. Okay, so and every woman in here knows, what do you do when you're walking through your car in a place like this, females?
You don't walk.
You run or walk briskly. And what else? What else do you do? Do you guys have pepper spray?
Yeah, that's
Got your pepper spray out?
Pepper spray, hold your keys between your fingers, have your phone like as if you're on the phone so that they're less likely to approach you. There's a lot of stuff.
Yes. Isn't it exhausting being a female in this culture? It's exhausting. Guys never have to think about this. They never have to think about this stuff. They do a threat assessment, but it's not the same for them as it is for females. Okay? So yeah, so she knows this. She knows we know this, okay? And that we're going to understand this. There are a few words here, but mostly it's visual rhetoric, okay, that she's using to make her argument. And we could go on about the details in this image. But I'm gonna move on to the next one, the next slide here. All right, so images are providing us information about our culture, and we are using our cultural knowledge to interpret them, to understand what the messages are, okay? And we can ask these questions of images in our efforts to understand the arguments that they're making by using our cultural knowledge. Okay, and we were just doing this. We were just using these questions to interpret those images and analyze them. All right, let's see if I have time for this. Yeah, I got a little bit of time. Do you guys recognize this fellow? Anybody recognize him?
Is it Clint Eastwood?
Yes, good job. This is Clint Eastwood circa 1962, right? And what was the purpose of this image in 1962? What was it for? Uh-oh, my battery's running low. I got to plug in while you guys think about it. There we go. Woo! Crisis averted. What was the purpose of this image in 1962? What's he supposed to be here? Look at this, cultural trends and shifting ideals for men. Right? In 1962, this is the masculine ideal. He didn't have to take this picture shirtless. He did on purpose. He's posing clearly, right, you guys? He's posing here.
Oh.
In order to package himself, right, as let's see, what's the right term? As an idol for women. That's not the right term, but that's the only one I can think of. My daughter is a K-pop fan. So I've got the word idol stuck in my head. They're idols. They're not just celebrities, you guys. They're idols. They're special. Okay? So I'm here to tell you. I hear about it every day. Okay? So anyway, this guy is presenting himself as a masculine ideal, physically. All right? Here we go. Hang on. Whoop! I went too far. Who's that? Who's that, you guys? Come on, you guys know who that is. Please, don't you?
No.
No?
It's Brad Pitt.
Oh my God. Huh?
It's Brad Pitt.
That's right. Thank you, Yesenia. That's Brad Pitt. That's Brad Pitt circa 2006, I think. I think that's when this image was taken. But look at the difference, you guys. Look at the difference. Okay? So this is 1962 versus 2006. What are some important differences you notice between these two images, which I have juxtaposed so that you have to compare them?
Well, Brad Pitt looks more in shape, like he's more muscular. Whereas
More muscular. Sorry, Virginia.
Whereas the guy in the black and white, he's slim, but he's not that built, I guess. Like he's not that muscular like the one on the right.
You got it. That's it. Okay, and so what's the point here? The point is culture. Okay, that's the point. Cultural trends and shifting ideals for men. This used to be the masculine ideal in 1962. Now it's more like this, okay? And next week when we meet, or maybe right now, let me right now show you, okay? My cursor is too sensitive. So you guys know who Ken is, right? Ken is the counterpart to Barbie, who's the feminine ideal for females. This is Ken in 1950. He looks like a 10-year-old boy, right? But he was supposed to be an ideal adult male, okay? In 1988, he's a little bit bulkier, right? He still has no genitals, all right? Because kids' toys can't have any sexual reproduction parts. All right, but look at this. This is what toys look like now, you guys. Or this is 2015, right? And you can even see the shift, right? In the cultural requirement for men that they be built, like Virginia said, that they be muscular and big, not just toned, okay, but huge. That's the cultural ideal. The Rock is the cultural ideal for men now, right? And men are being pushed in the same way women have been for years to approximate that ideal, to get as close to it as they can. Look at poor Hugh Jackman trying his hardest, right? But Hugh Jackman can't get here. There's no way. This is not physically possible. Just like Barbie is not physically possible. All right, here's his toy from the Wolverine series, right? Here's Hugh Jackman action figure, which is being sold to boys as a cultural, as a masculine ideal. And here's Hugh Jackman, actual human being trying his hardest, right? But look at this little, you know, rubber band compared to this, okay? He can't do it, all right? And so that's people trying to sell you stuff, okay? Exaggerating human characteristics in order to sell you things. And you can see that these things are arbitrary, that they're constructed and manufactured because of how they change in our culture. Okay, here's some statistics that show that change. And here are some images of women that illustrate the same concept, how our ideal of what is beautiful, okay, shifts over time. This was the feminine ideal for its time and place. This is Marilyn Monroe, the feminine ideal for the 50s. And this is, you know, more closely approximating our current feminine ideal, at least what we see in fashion models, is tall and thin, okay? We've got people who are complicating that, like the loathsome Kim Kardashian, right? Or people like Cardi B or Nicki Minaj or Beyonce now, who used to be really thin, but now she's got a mom bod, I'm told. I'd love to see that body on most normal women, okay? But this is to illustrate how culture impacts on us, all right? And how we can read cultural ideals in the media that you're going to be analyzing. And I'm trying to escape. There we go. All right. And now I'm going to set this aside and come back to it later. All right. Just to take one last quick look at our agenda for today. Okay. I'm going over time here, but I need to talk to you about this assignment right here. Okay. Do you guys have a few more minutes to spend with me before I let you go? Like 2 minutes? Sorry to go over. All right, so this is an assignment that you need to do and submit by, whoops, my mouse is so sensitive today, by the 8th. And this is in your assignment sheet, in the SA2 assignment sheet. All right, which you can look at right here. It's on these pages right here. It starts right here. All right, and your assignment is just to answer these questions, right? Answers to these 1 through 6 questions and submit those to this assignment. Okay, and then the next thing you need to do is this right here. There's not an assignment in Canvas for this, but you need to start working on this, and I'll send out an announcement to remind people to do that. Okay, but that's steps 4 and 5. planning and organization in the assignment sheet. You need to start to think about how to plan your image analysis. All right. This assignment right here, I'm going to give you feedback on. So when you submit this pre-writing exercise, I will respond to it in Canvas to make sure you're on the right track with your analysis. All right. So you need to submit it by this deadline so that I have time to respond to you before your rough draft is due. Now, your rough draft's not going to be due till next week, but we need to get started on this. Okay, does that make sense, you guys? Do you have any questions about all of that I just said really fast? All right, if you do, email me or contact me in Canvas. All righty? Okay, folks, I'm going to go ahead and stop the meeting now, and have a good weekend. Take care. Things are looking up, for me anyway. All right, talk to you later. Bye.
Thank you.